The championship margin is razor thin with 2 races to go. 3 drivers are only separate by 1 point to lead the championship standings of the SNT Summer Series, and we return to a road course for our longest ever test on the twists and turns. Welcome to Saturday Night Thunder's Kallhoff-Deitch Racing Summer Series. We've only got this week and the next to decide a champion, and it looks like, with that being said, it's going to be the longest test of the season at the virtual Watkins Glen International that may decide who takes it all when we crown our title winner next week. Henry Kallhoff, Cameron Chandler, and Richard Sherry are only 1 point apart, and it looks like tonight they're all going to be facing off against one another all over again, and it matters the most who succeeds in this 50-lap feature. Welcome back live on FTN Broadcasting. I'll be your host for tonight's event. I'm David Kreutz, commentating and producing. We are just moments away from bringing on your warm-up session. Drivers taking their qualifying times as we speak. So far at the top of the board, Hudson Sangster with a pole time 111.763. That goes P1 as he's now on pit road. Cameron Chandler now taking another lap, but his time has been locked in. Cameron is going to sit second place to start this one, and for the Chandler crew, eyeing what could be win number 2 on the season, of course. He and Henry Kallhoff both having a victory apiece. Richard Sherry, while 1 point behind in the standings for the overall lead, has still not yet taken a victory. Qualifying has concluded as all drivers have taken times. Hudson Sangster is the man on the pole position. He's got a 1/10 of a second advantage over everyone else as we move toward our 5 minutes of warm-up. So far, 5 drivers have taken a time in this session, 5 choosing not to do so or not getting a validated lap in, but as you can see, everyone's getting back on the racetrack to take a little bit more time. Jamie McKinney looked strong in practice and set the fastest time of the session so far. However, the 0-1 team failed to put down a qualifying lap, so McKinney will be coming from the midfield today to get the job done. Shouldn't have too much of a concern when it comes to coming through the midfield, however. Not the biggest of fields, but the talent is still stacked real deep. 10 drivers, as we see here on our practice charts. The qualifying numbers will tell the story of the who's who in Watkins Glen. And it looks like Hudson Sangster gets himself up to the top of the board. Sangster, closest to victory in Kansas, has taken P1, and it looks like now he's got it over the rest of the field. Cameron Chandler to his outside. Chandler is going to be battling for the championship. He comes in with 124 points. And his biggest rival, the title leader, is going to start right behind him. That is Henry Kallhoff. Kallhoff in the number 63 starts third tonight. He's going to put it in with a lap time, a 1:12.157. Good enough right there for P3. Kenneth Gurrell is going to get his best qualifying effort of this miniature series, and he goes P4 with a 112.71. The last time taken overall will be Richard Bunkley in the number 79. Bunkley goes P5, and that will be the last time set. That 79 car there with a 112.754. Richard Sherry, the first of the drivers not to take a qualifying time, is also 1 point back on championship leader Kallhoff. He'll start the row behind the number 63, 2 rows behind Cameron Chandler, and begin this race in the 6th position with Jamie McKinney after leading over 100 laps last week, coming back to start 7th. Cash Colt making his first start of the season, going P8. Tyler Seaver going 9th, and Landon Benson wrapping up the field, qualifying 10th and last. It's going to be a strong field taking on Watkins Glen for 50 laps of racing. We're about to get things going here, and with that said, it's Watkins Glen. It's 2 races to go in the championship hunt, and Hudson Sangster grabs the pole position for the Atlantic Grand Prix. Qualifying's out of the way. A few drivers are still taking some extra practice laps and preparing for them what's to come. Since we don't have all too many drivers all night long, we'll be able to focus on driver telemetry. As you see on the left side of your screen, we're going to have that up all throughout the day. You'll see exactly what drivers are doing and when they are doing it, including all gear shift changes, acceleration, and braking. iRacing telemetry data giving us all the insider know-how as to how these drivers take it through the racing circuit. And we'll get the numbers, we'll get the pictures, and we'll see it all at once. Going to be very important, of course, how these drivers approach this track. It's a 2.45 mile circuit coming in just under the length of the Daytona International Speedway oval. It is not nearly as quick, however, by virtue of how different, of course, the track styling is. You've got 8 turns to deal with, you've got small turns, you've got large carousels, and it is a sweeping circuit, up and down all throughout, which means that the difficulty of this track is going to be a little bit more than that 2.5 mile contemporary. But compared to all the other road courses, this is a track many drivers have taken grips to pretty easily. Simple to learn, difficult to master. I think that's the best explanation of this racing circuit. Hudson Sangster getting to the inside now of the number 79. That is Richard Bunkley. Driving side by side now with Bunkley as the two go toe for toe into the bus stop. Bunkley's going to fall. Hudson Sangster going to get through calm. And so far, Hudson has been putting down the best times in most of these sessions. He was the fastest outright in qualifying, and in first practice, Hudson was third quickest. Jamie McKinney had top honors in that first session. Nevertheless, for Sangster, a championship opportunity is not far-fetched, but he will need a good race tonight. He is 15 points off of the title lead, so he's 6th in the championship standings, but once again, he's the fastest in session as it comes to a close. Practice has concluded, and Hudson Sangster with a quick time, 1:11.388 in first practice, and in second practice, a 1:11.91, fastest in those sessions. And he's got the pole position, looking to back it all up when it matters most. Watkins Glen is ready to come to life. There is Richard Bunkley, and right ahead of him now is the number 42 of Hudson Sangster. 50 laps on the table from the Watkins Glen International Circuit. Now, 50 laps from road course is the longest distance that this league has ever seen. However, by all accounts, it's not particularly long a distance if drivers stay clean, which is most likely what we're going to see. The majority of the field is going to stay out of each other's hair, and the differences in pace naturally are just going to open up as the night progresses. So I don't think anyone here particularly has a reason to be concerned. If anything, we're going to see calm and collected racing from beginning to end. 50 laps on the docket means that one pit stop is necessary at the very minimum. And tonight we have 4 tire sets, so 3 extra sets are available on pit road. And of course, there's the one that drivers start with. No fuel cap, which means that we are very likely going to see a 100% run, and the race will be split halfway, if not later. The Integrity Racing League had a 56-lap race in which drivers only went down to pit road for 1 stop. That is the expectation. That is very likely to be how drivers follow through today, as all of which now make it up through the S's. Track conditions go as follows from Schuyler County, New York. Track temperature coming in at 76 degrees Fahrenheit, which is mild with a relative humidity of 45%. And yet, when you look at that track temperature, it's 127 degrees Fahrenheit, especially warm in some of the warmest road course conditions this league has ever dealt with. It's going to be a slick track, and if humidity picks up any more so, it's going to become especially difficult as the night progresses. Currently, anyhow, it's going to be warm, but we'll see if it gets any worse. It looks like static conditions mean that the track temp shouldn't move far higher than what you're seeing. You might see up to 130 degrees Fahrenheit as the night progresses, but right now it looks like things will be calm and collected for the majority of the day. Winds are northbound, fluctuating from 1 mile an hour to 2 miles an hour. Right now, seeing 2 miles northbound, that's not really going to impact the racing too much. Hudson Sangster has all eyes on going for a racing victory tonight, of course. 6th in the championship. A win for him would put him in the title conversation for our season finale next week. That finale going to be held at the Homestead Miami Speedway, a 100-lap feature. So, for Sangster, it's in his best interest right now to really put it through. He's been fast in practice and qualifying, and if he just hits his marks consistently, he might just be the favorite. Right behind him are Chandler and Henry Kallhoff, who are only separate by 1 point in the title standings. Let's figure out who, if any, come away with the victory. Green flags out from Watkins Glen. 10 drivers make their way to the first 90-degree bend, and we're cleanly on our way from upstate New York. Sangster with the advantage. We are off to the races in Watkins Glen. It is all Hudson Sangster through the opening lap, but Cameron Chandler keeps him honest and gets to the inside as they head toward turn 1. Chandler with the apex. Going to be pretty easy for him to make that move as Hudson Sangster way wide through 1. And when you get down to the apex and get that good lunge, it's just about game over. Jamie McKinney now dealing with the number 29. Right beside him, that is Kenneth Gurrell. Gurrell is going to make a move. Richard Cherry right there with. And you'll see here, the Cherry machine is looking to go by for P5. Kenneth Gurrell right there in the Polaroid Ford Mustang. Got a big battle coming together through the bus stop. One's got to give. It's going to be Cherry. Henry Kallhoff once again takes position. Now for Cherry, getting ahead of Henry Kallhoff would most likely keep him second in the championship standings as they run, because currently it is Cameron Chandler who's got the race lead. Chandler has not yet won this season, and I think that's the biggest of shocks. Not only in the regular season campaign we had from the winter to spring, in which Cameron had the most top 10s, and tied for the most top 5s with James Thurston, but also so far in our summer tour, where he has been remarkably impressive, but it looks like he goes wide here. We might see 3 drivers battling for the lead. Enter Jamie McKinney. McKinney started today's 7th place after not taking the qualifying time intentionally, and it looks like that best time he put down in practice might be more indicative of his speed than anything else. He's got the only time under 1 minute and 11 seconds so far recorded through practice, qualifying, or our final warm-up. So, McKinney has already shown the potential to be several tenths of a second faster than anyone else in the field, and getting himself up in the opening 3 laps from 7th to 2nd is indicative of just that. Running in the Venturini Motorsports inspired 0-1 paint scheme. It's all about road course racing tonight, and I think that's a pretty fitting paint scheme when you think about the driver who once rode in this equipment. And that would be Michael Self. Michael Self coming in from a more endurance background and making his way toward ARCA Menard Series racing throughout the tail end of the 2010s. Now, a very strong equipment, of course, team that Venturini Motorsport has saw much success for the Sinclair Chevrolet, and now the Toyota Camry, Self collecting 9 wins throughout his career. In 2019 and 20 respectively, Self took the Sinclair Oil car to second in the championship standings 2 times over. Four laps in out of 50 now. Cameron Chandler just holding the advantage over Jamie McKinney. Hudson Sangster has fallen firmly into the 3rd spot, and he might have Henry Kallhoff coming on to him. Ooh, McKinney way wide now. And he's going to set himself up on the outside with speed. Gets a little loose. And Sangster's going to be boxed in. Likewise, not a very good exit for Cameron Chandler. And so as the field goes into the 90, you got 5 drivers wrapped within a second. Brief contact. And it's going to be slight. But McKinney wobbles big. The advantage is with Cameron Chandler for the race lead. And a slide like that, Jamie McKinney is not going to forget it. We'll see if he races any differently when it comes to getting around Cameron Chandler now, because he understands what's on the line. Championship shot might not be for McKinney. Part-time driver who made his first start last week and dominated, but he wants that win. Last week looked to be the perfect opportunity to get it, and it turned out to be a major miss. Side by side, coming toward the Jackie Stewart grandstands. One in the back is going to slide. That looks to be Richard Bunkley. Focus on the front, however. McKinney still has it made here, and he's going to hold the edge. Coming to the stripe for lap number 6. It was Richard Bunkley with that issue just about a half minute ago. Watch this here. We'll try to bring it back, that instant replay that shows the wreckage. And here you go. Richard Bunkley with problems coming through the carousel. And as it happened, he was alone. And just slides through. Perhaps a little bit of contact with the curbs was the reason. Well, we pull you back to the live feed as it's side by side between Kallhoff and Cameron Chandler. Henry on the outside, Cameron down low, and through the carousel again, proven to be a dicey spot just a lap ago. Henry can't hold on to P2. He will have to go wide, give up the spot, and about a half car length that comes with it. Richard Cherry to the inside on Hudson Sangster. And Hudson now falls back into P4, in jeopardy of going to 5th. Big shakeup now as Kallhoff moves by the 8. Richard Cherry looking for 4th again. It's going to be his 2nd attempt. And with the apex, Sangster is forced wide once more. So the top 3 in your championship standings are racing as follows. Chandler in 2nd, Kallhoff in 3rd, and Richard Cherry now in 4th. It's going to be Cameron, of course, who finds himself still advantageous of all of them, but Jamie McKinney has gotten by, and he looks to be with a little bit more clean air than anyone else. Sailing out in front, got the race lead through some dicey action a few laps prior, and now the top spot is all his. Meanwhile, Kallhoff is looking to get one back on Cameron Chandler, just hasn't set himself up to make the pass. Watch what happens as we head toward lap 8 and take a brief look on board with Henry Kallhoff as he fights to take 2nd back. While nobody's been perfect so far tonight, it's very clear everyone's catching up to one another based on those slight mistakes. You'll see drivers getting loose, trying to push the envelope, and this is for many of these guys in the field the very first time they've taken these road course cars, road course package for ARCA. Jamie McKinney went through the grass. Now, after doing some lawn mowing, he finds himself back to second, in jeopardy of falling to third. Henry Kallhoff is going to let him back in line, and it looks like McKinney gets lucky there. Could have been a whole lot worse, but already showing some signs of problems for some of these drivers. McKinney's going to get back on the way, and we were saying nobody was perfect. That includes your former race leader now. Steps on the curb, goes way wide, it ends up treading the grass, and he gets back on cleanly. He merges in, but either way, he's going to drop out of the race lead. We'll see what McKinney can do now to try and bring it back. He's already hot on the heels of Cameron Chandler. And as he gets a little bit closer here, Chandler gets a second chance to go fully on defense. 5 drivers in the train, all watching one another, from Chandler down to Sangster. Everyone is connected, and nobody's giving each other a break. Sherry is eyeing Henry Kallhoff for an opportunity to enter the podium. Hasn't yet been able to get there, though. As the field gets across the line, it's going to be Cameron Chandler for lap number 10. Jamie McKinney that time by. A little bit slower, not all too much, but the difference is clear there. That was a 112.062 for Jamie McKinney, whereas for Cameron Chandler, well, I can't believe it. They were within 1,000th of a second. Last lap before that, though, it was McKinney who lost a 10th. Meanwhile, Richard Sherry, Hudson Sangster, back end of this train, maybe falling back further. Gotta watch here if Sherry can keep on the pressure for Henry Kallhoff. It's the most important thing he can do right now, just try to stay with the 63 and see if problems ensue for the leaders. Chandler not nearly as quick as McKinney through the bus stop, and it shows right there. Jamie McKinney looking for an entry into turns 7 and 8. Can't get it on his own. Waits, steps back. Beneath the Go Bowling Bridge, we got lap traffic for the first time tonight. And just ahead of us, that'll be Richard Bunkley. Bunkley with some problems beforehand. They're going to meet him by turn 1. Richard tries to take the apex. Gets moved out of the way. The leaders get through, but oh, Jamie McKinney again on ice skates. And he loosens up for the second time. For Jamie, his best chance at going out there and achieving victory, it all comes down to whether or not he can hang on for this first stint. I think very likely he's going to pull himself back together pace-wise by the time everyone goes down to pit road, as once again he's going to have to let Kallhoff go by, as does Cherry, and it's going to be a brief slowdown penalty, it appears, there as he intentionally falls back. McKinney now down to 4th. He charged up to the lead from 7th, but a series of consecutive blunders have lost him that advantage. It's Cameron Chandler, now up and ahead. Jamie McKinney now has to put the pressure on Richard Sherry, and interestingly enough, it's 1-2-3 in the championship standings, running 1-2-3. Not in their championship point order, but these guys are only separated. These top 3 are only separated by 1 point in the title fight. Henry Kallhoff has the 1 point that neither Cameron Chandler nor Richard Sherry possess. That is it. It is such a small difference between these headlining drivers, and it's most interesting that through several races they are that close. Richard Sherry has done it without a victory. Of course, Cameron Chandler looking to do the very same. Henry Kallhoff getting that clutch win, and he got it in Kansas. 12 laps in out of 50. Clean start so far for the majority of the pack. Kenneth Gurrell back on the way after going to pit road and going one down. Tyler Sevier, more of the same. So we do have drivers who could be in jeopardy of being lap traffic as the race progresses. Tyler goes up the S's as Cameron Chandler goes downhill, makes his way toward the 90. It is highly likely, with that in mind, that we see more lap traffic involving itself in the leaders' field through the opening half of this race. 13 laps in out of 50, so we're about a quarter ways through. Strategy is going to be entirely dependent on when we go down to pit road. We're looking at only one opportunity as Landon Benson slides, and he's going to have himself a problem. Here's another replay as the carousel has been about the trickiest place for everyone, loose in the very same way Bunkley was. And Benson slides around. There's a 77 to Tyler Sevier, pulling right up beside him. All the while, Richard Cherry goes up high on Henry Kallhoff, and through 7 is looking to make a pass. For the second spot on the order, Richard Cherry makes do and gets the apex out of the final turn. The advantage is his again. Contact behind with Jamie McKinney and Henry Kallhoff. Both drivers get away. That will pull McKinney up in a third. Richard Cherry for second place. Now has himself about a half second, if that. Kallhoff is all over the back bumper of the 0-1, but has not yet been able to make a move. Henry goes high. Hudson Sangster looks a little bit to his inside. And now it looks like we're going to shuffle Kallhoff to the end of the main train. And that we do. Side by side through 7. And much like Richard Cherry, it looks like now it's going to be Hudson Sangster making a pass in the 63. So Kallhoff quickly falls from what was the top 3 to just hanging on to the 5th spot. Cherry takes second place, and we'll see whether or not he can catch up to Cameron Chandler. That time by, Chandler was about 8/100ths of a second faster. Jamie McKinney matched his pace on scuffed tires, so McKinney is very much still quick, but he isn't in the right position to chase after him directly, Cameron Chandler. Riding through the bus stop. Now I got 2 bundles of 2 chasing after leader Chandler. Cameron's got it made. There are now 7 drivers on the lead lap, and these first 5 are the tightest bunch. Kallhoff often one of the stronger drivers when it comes to making moves in the short run. And it's showing there. Oh, Jamie McKinney drifting on his way to turn 8. And another unforced error. McKinney's biggest enemy has been himself all night long, and he just showed us why. And he's got that tendency to try and push his car and push himself a little bit beyond the edge. And that's another example of that not being the right way to go. At least it's not the best thing to do when you're in that situation where so consistently you have those problems. We'll see what happens up next. 16 laps in out of 50 as the field is going to get back to business. Hudson Sangster just barely leads Henry Kallhoff here. Kallhoff has not been able to contend in the slightest. Jamie McKinney staying on Cherry, looked low, blocked, but he's got the run. Now, if he doesn't fully lose touch with the momentum he's got there, he might be able to get that spot. Coming down toward the 90-degree corner, the first of the circuit. Still hasn't happened yet. McKinney is taking that right front for a wild ride. You see it again and again. Just some slight issues. Perhaps with just keeping the traction on the car. And the track temperature, of course, is giving no driver a favor, as it's now up to 130 degrees Fahrenheit, as we expected, slightly warmer, and it began at 127 to begin with. So, with conditions staying constant and only slightly getting warmer, these tires are given no favors. I mean, you can see right there, every time the 0-1 and that McKinney car crosses through the boundary past the curbs, it's a shake, and it's a violent shake at that. That's costing him more time than anything else. Gap between Richard Cherry and Cameron Chandler might be coming down, though. That was a 1:11.623 for the Chandler team, 1:11.7 that time for Cherry. Advantage by a tenth is with Cameron Chandler. We got one in the wall, and they're passing by. It's Tyler Seaver in the number 77. The lapper gets out of the way, but watch what happened. Into one and alone. Now going to be 2 laps down. And just looks like sliding through the first corner. Getting out of harm's way. Flush with the inside retainer for pit road exit. Tyler is 9th on the circuit now and still has about a half-minute advantage over the next driver in Bunkley. It'll be Kenneth Gorell, the next driver in jeopardy, going 1 lap down, but he still has about a half track to go until that point. Jamie McKinney continues to watch Cherry. Take a look aboard the 0-1 as he's trying to get the fight back in his car to make the pass for second. Here's the move. To the inside goes McKinney, and he'll have it for turn 1. That slide there from Richard Cherry does him all the favors he needs. Jamie McKinney takes second place. 19 laps in out of 50 now. He's about 3 seconds off of leader Chandler. But either way, big move for Jamie. I think on that raw pace, that still, Jamie McKinney is the fastest driver. He's got to just pull himself in and be a little less aggressive with the way he's been approaching this circuit. Every time he makes that mistake of treading wide and hitting the curvature, well, that's where the issue is. Oh, another one down. That is Landon Benson. And for the second time in the same spot, Landon Benson goes. Watch this. Instant replay will show you just sliding out of the carousel. And this time around, not able to back it out as the field gets by. Benson now goes 1 down as the leaders passed him. Luckily, nobody else was caught up in that affair. And this main group of drivers gets away unharmed. Side by side between nobody to this point. But we've seen a lot of contentious driving. Richard Cherry now falling off the back of Jamie McKinney. McKinney is next to deal with the lapper again of Bunkley. Bunkley goes 3 laps down. Oh, Hudson Sangster loose. Gonna save it right there, but Bunkley doesn't give him any favors. And so here comes Henry Kallhoff. And seeing some aggressive defense now for the 79 on Sangster as Henry Kallhoff comes into the play. It's going to be the battle now for 4th as Bunkley about runs the Sangster car down the road. There's big contact. Sangster in the wall. He'll come up the circuit. And Hudson Sangster parked out by the Jackie Stewart grandstands. And it was very clear there that that defense became very intentional, very fast. Watch this. From a wider angle, you'll see Bunkley held the 42 at bay. That gives Kallhoff third. And as Hudson tried to go low, door banging to the point that the 79 shook Sangster hard enough to take him up and down the track. Hudson is now going to have to settle for fifth for the time being, and unless he gets a lucky caution, I think that's going to put an end to his championship chances, as Richard Sherry has decided to go down and in. An interesting call, an early one, and Richard decides to go for the undercut. And so it looks like Hudson Sangster is going to have to stick to that, as Chandler has gotten away. McKinney is now separate from Henry Kallhoff. And we are looking at the opening of our pit road strategy calls tonight. Sherry coming into a scheduled stop after 21 laps. Chandler staying out this time by. While the magic number in a situation like this is typically 25 laps, the halfway point of the race, we know that these drivers have the capability to go longer. They've got about 30 laps in the tank if they want to go the route of going into pit road very early or very late. That will not be to their detriment. So, Richard Sherry coming in for the undercut, it makes sense. Going to get himself back out on the track, set those quick laps, and try to get up to the race lead. Interestingly enough, Richard Sherry ran lap 19 faster than he did lap 2 or lap 5 or just about on pace with lap 9, the lap after his very fastest. So tire wear I don't think is going to be the biggest thing today. Honestly, I think that's going to make Richard Sherry's call very smart here. He'll get himself out of harm's way, hit his marks, not have to focus about the pressure around him, and so he will be pretty good to go as the night progresses here. So long as he just sticks to what's been successful so far, and that is minding his own business and doing a clean job out there on the racetrack, getting out of people's way if needed, and keeping himself at speed. Jamie McKinney within 3 seconds of the lead of Chandler again. Erratic, unfortunately. He's had a lot of issues hitting the curbs, getting up and down, getting bounced around the racing circuit, but at the very same time, I think McKinney's got it made pace-wise, but not strategy-wise. He's going to need a great pit stop to get back in front of Cameron Chandler from there, bobbling the opportunity he had in the race lead after an issue in which he went through this bus stop and made himself a lawnmower. You can still see the tire treads on the way out of the bus stop as he heads toward the carousel. This period of the race is going to calm down for everyone, McKinney included, as we wait toward the moment where drivers head to pit road. Still looks like it's going to be most likely drivers coming in after lap 25. That's the call for Jamie McKinney, it appears, and that would be the call for Cameron Chandler if he follows suit. 24 laps in, out of 50, halfway is coming right around the corner. Patience necessary for every driver involved here. 5 seconds back is Henry Kallhoff. He gets the biggest benefit of that issue with Hudson Sangster, of course. Making his way around, having such a problem, of course, with Hudson Sangster. That defense from Richard Bunkley ended up giving way to some of the most important content that we've seen all throughout the season, because I think that's going to make the difference between whether or not Henry Kallhoff has a good chance in what is next. And of course, that will be our season finale from the Homestead Miami Speedway. When we get to that 100-lap feature, and if he falls any further behind Cameron Chandler, well, the difference is clear. If he is more than a few points back, we might just see Sherry or Chandler get through. Not easy to determine who's got the stuff right now, because halfway through, Jamie McKinney has the edge. Cameron Chandler at the exact halfway point decides to head down to pit road, and just like that, to pit road, the Monster Energy Chevrolet. Landon Benson opting to retire as he gets through It's going to be the number 8 on the way in. See there, Bunkley, 10th place on pit road as well. And it's going to be a pivotal pit stop now for Cameron Chandler. Jamie McKinney getting the race lead. We'll see what he can do with these next 2 laps, as they might just be the most important of the race. Cameron Chandler, the 9, on his way out, 33 seconds back. Halfway through, halfway to go. Jamie McKinney now holds strategy in his fingertips. We'll see whether or not he decides to come through this time by, and it looks like as he heads down under the Go Bowling Bridge, he'll head within pit road's confines. Here we go again, as it's going to be McKinney down and in. Richard Sherry staying on the circuit here. And it looks like currently 3 seconds back on Chandler, so the undercut not getting him the position just yet. McKinney into pit road. And here's the big one. Jamie watching out as Cameron Chandler comes by. Cameron looking to make the pass. McKinney squealing off of pit road. He'll have the tighter entry and exit into turn 1. It's going to be Chandler that has to go way wide, but the advantage is clear. Cameron Chandler's back in front. Gap between the drivers now. It's going to be about 2 seconds apiece across all 3. Jamie McKinney, 2 back on Cameron Chandler. Richard Sherry, a further 2 seconds behind on McKinney. The battle begins again. Still, I think it's going to be Jamie McKinney, a big winner in this fight, because he actually gains a little bit of time, just a little bit. He's going to gain about a second and a half, and if he can just maintain the pace he had before, where he was able to gain a second and go from 7th up to P1, I wouldn't doubt in the slightest McKinney still has a fair shot at this. But he's got to be careful, because his biggest issue has been himself, and the way he's been pushing has been a little bit overbearing on the tire. When he hits the curb, oftentimes he ends up flopping around, and that has become so noticeable, and I don't think that's what anyone would like to see. 27 laps in out of 50. McKinney's got to take care of himself again. The squealing of the tires has been so apparent. Cameron Chandler up and ahead. The only holdout left is going to be Henry Kallhoff. Henry finds himself ahead of just about every driver here. Of course, only because he's gone not to pit road since the beginning of the race. He's going to have to come in eventually, but he's going to try to go for a long stint, which means that very likely he's going to go the distance for up to 3 more laps, take his 30, then come down and in. Maybe the anticipation is he fuels up a little bit less, has less time on pit road, and cycles in for the podium battle. I think that's going to be the goal. Cameron Chandler has been able to gain on Jamie McKinney. That time by a 1:11.611 for Cameron Chandler. We'll get an accurate comparison between the two this time by. 1 minute, 12 seconds, .228 for Jamie McKinney. Cameron Chandler ran a 1:11.714. That is a half second quicker. So yes, it's all about Cameron Chandler right now. And it looks like he's got the pace to pull away. McKinney to the inside on Tyler Sevier. And so fast, McKinney gets clean air again. Now I would have to wonder, what can be done now if you're Jamie McKinney, who proved that he had the pace to get there, but all of a sudden just doesn't have the stuff? Maybe it's not that he doesn't have the stuff, it's just that the racing and the performance for the 9 car has changed. Cameron Chandler looking as quick as ever, all the while Jamie McKinney is looking a little bit less so. And another week where McKinney leads laps, looks strong, and might have to settle for outside the top spot. And what a horrible case it would be if that is indeed so. Jamie McKinney leading 5 laps, while not leading as many as Bristol, where he led over 100. Still, it looks like McKinney showing those flashes that he could be a race winner in our main competition in Saturday Night Thunder as well. Beyond halfway, with 22 laps remaining, we'd like to thank our friends live on FTN, bringing the action to you, and of course, Whiplash SimCams, iRacing's leading camera provider with up-to-date content for every car and every track. Visit their Discord server for free camera samples if you would like to learn more, and any broadcaster at any level of experience can get involved. Car and track packs are sold at $5 a piece, no licensing fee necessary. With now just under 25 laps remaining, let's get loud and proud from Watkins Glen and crank it up from the Finger Lakes. "19 laps remain, and it's coming toward 18 now, and you can see that Jamie McKinney has really put himself back in a great position and has reeled himself in. The gap between race leaders is now within 1 second. Kinney, he's got us nervous in the broadcast booth watching him because he is so quick, and yet he is very easily capable of using a little bit more than what the racing real estate demands. That time by was the closest he's been in upwards of 20 laps on the race lead. Two laps prior, he was 2 seconds away from the top spot. That gap is now cut in half over the course of the last week. Of course, last week, he's been able to lead both races. Now, over the course of these last few laps, he might be able to take himself up for a stint again. He led the first 60 consecutive laps at Bristol, only for it to fall apart late in the going. Now tonight, perhaps some redemption as he looks toward what's yet to come. 18 to go, coming to 17 laps remaining, and he's cut another 0.2 of a second. Cameron Chandler has to watch out now. And very clearly, this time by, McKinney learning from those mistakes and trying to push it a little bit less to have fewer unforced errors. Because every problem that he has is going to only hurt his tire more. And while tire wear hasn't been the biggest of deals so far tonight, despite the fact it's a very warm track and drivers have been struggling with traction, the tire wear itself only really comes when you go off the circuit and make those types of mistakes, which has been rare to this point. That time by, 0.75 of a second was the differentiator between your top two. McKinney, slowly but surely, getting closer. Take a look aboard again. Driver telemetry going to feed you the answers as to what exactly is going on. Second gear about the lowest the drivers will go just to keep themselves with high revs. Keep that engine pumping at about 100 miles an hour. Third up to about 160. But not enough time to extend the gearing full out. Jamie McKinney still gaining time. It's a comfortable 0.2 of a second about every lap here. He's been very good at consistently putting it in, lap after lap. 17 to go, becomes only 16 here. And Cameron Chandler better watch out. His rearview mirror is being filled up, but every time McKinney tries to go for those daring moves, he ends up sliding like that, and he cost himself 0.1 of a second again. He is not afraid to put that car out about 20 degrees on the back end and just pull it together, which I think goes to show how confident he is when he's really locked in. But at the same time, the more you do that, one time you're not going to get that lucky. McKinney is about dead even on this lap, but he is not going to gain nearly as much as he could have. And that's just what happens as he goes through turn one a little bit riskier. .6, if that. McKinney is using more than what the regular track limits suggest, but in stock car racing, anything goes. That's the one good thing about it for McKinney. He's not going to be penalized to the entirety of the circuit. 15 laps to go. Going beyond the extension through turn one might give you a penalty. Everywhere else is just fine. Again, through turn one, McKinney is having such problems. He's now more than a second back on Chandler. And his worst enemy tonight has been himself. Lappers, Bunkley for instance right there, that's actually going to help out briefly for Jamie McKinney, give him about 0.1 of a second back. But I think right now for Cameron Chandler, so long as he focuses less on the rearview mirror, he will be fine. I mean, it's getting filled up, but every time Jamie McKinney gets close, one of his own ways gets the better of him. Turns 7 and 8 again. Jamie trying to cut it back within a half second. At the line, McKinney going to pull through, even with how loose he was through turn one, a momentum shift. This is now going to be a half a second again. I think the lapper of Bunkley really throwing Chandler off his game that time by, and it showed. 14 laps remaining. McKinney having a slow and steady build-up to get to this point. And as delicate as it's been, the job is far from finished. Gap is within 0.3 of a second. Through the bus stop once more. I mean, that is close racing outright. These guys might not be side by side, but when it comes to pace, they've been trying to match each other for the entire day. Even after McKinney lost the lead earlier, he was almost as fast as Chandler, just wasn't able to properly show it. And now, as he gets that draft down the straightaways, I think he's got the advantage he needs pace-wise. 14 to go, headed to 13. It's only a baker's dozen from here. Chandler, big time loose out of 8. And coming toward the 90 at the line, Jamie McKinney leads by 6 1/1000ths of a second. With the apex of the corner, McKinney now has a shot to lead through the S's. Not if Chandler has anything to say about it, he'll take him upstairs, and they're still right beside each other. Oh, contact! Cameron Chandler up into the wall. And the 9 is destroyed. Spun around through the S's. Cameron Chandler far out of leading contention now. Jamie McKinney gets away, and a lot like Bunkley on Sangster, pull it back and watch it develop. Very rarely do two drivers go up the S's together and both make it out. In this case, quarter panel contact and Chandler overcorrecting while McKinney showed very little sign of getting off him. It's going to be Jamie McKinney, and with this development, Richard Sherry not only takes second place, but he also leads the championship. Both of his title rivals now run behind him. Kallhoff takes third. And yeah, this is going to be real bad news for that team. Cameron Chandler goes down at pit road, and he's going to have to get himself fixed up immediately. If he wants any chance of getting out there, he should stay in 5th. If he just takes a faster pair and goes, which looks to be the intention. But either way, a major shakeup, and that might have just been the pass for the win. I'm sure neither of those drivers are happy with how this race is going to end up. And I don't think Jamie McKinney is happy that's how he passed for the win. And Cameron Chandler, I can't imagine he will like at all the circumstance that he's got, in that he lost a shot to win again, and now is going to fall back in the point standings heading toward our season finale. That could be make or break for the title, as Richard Sherry holds the advantage now over Kallhoff and especially over Cameron Chandler. 11 laps to go now. This is where it becomes ridiculous. The gaps now between everyone else, I think that's where you're going to see the racing really simmer down, and everyone is going to be comfortable with the spot they have. Henry Kallhoff might still have an opportunity to chase down Richard Sherry, but it's going to come down to pace. That time by, he was 1/10 of a second faster than Sherry, but 1/10 of a second every lap will not be enough with 11 laps remaining. He'll only make up the better part of a second and a half, which is still going to be a big cut into the lead that Kallhoff has over, of course, Sherry, and vice versa for the time being. But either way, I don't think Henry Kallhoff is going to get up there, and Sherry is going to maintain in second unless he really messes up. I don't think it's going to happen. Gap from driver to driver shows you right now that it's going to be McKinney to Sherry 3 seconds, Sherry to Kallhoff 3 seconds, Kallhoff to Sangster is 14 seconds, Sangster to Cameron Chandler is 24 seconds. Cameron Chandler really trying to pull it all back together and have a great final run here, but he's so far out that not even the leader in McKinney is expected to get back up to him in these final 10 laps. The single digits coming toward us now as we've gotten to lap number 41 out of 50. Moments before the checkered flag, of course, in the grand scheme of things, strategy has come to pass, and we have seen a remarkable turn of fate for the driver 0-1, Jamie McKinney. This time around, it looks like he's going to be the one who hangs on for the race win. 9 to go this time by. Henry Kallhoff still behind Sherry here. Gap is going to expand to about 4 seconds. And it becomes a little bit more challenging when you think about the perspective of the driver here. You really don't see anyone else around you. Very little opportunity to compare yourself actively. And as a result, moments before we get to the checkered flag, well, these drivers are still going to be stranded. You might see everyone start to take the pace a little lighter. Nine laps remaining for everyone involved. Kenneth Gorell, the leading lapper, who is 2 laps down and 1 lap behind Cameron Chandler. Looks like the lappers not battling each other. Richard Bunkley is flying into pit road at 120 miles an hour. And I think that's a sign that he's about going to call it the way he raced in. That or he's just going to take a penalty. Well, it looks like it might just be a combination of both. He locks it up and puts it into pit road at speed. And I think that's going to mean game over for the number 79 crew. Cash Culp is no longer on the circuit. He is retired. Tyler Sevier is 4 laps down, and I don't think he's got any signs of making up any additional position. McKinney, 3 seconds up on Richard Sherry. Still waiting to see if Richard's got anything left in the tank. Take a look on board with the man who might just be your championship leader at the end of night, and we'll see how he's handling the tight corners of the Glen. Some drivers have chosen to take the bus stop through second gear, but as you watch the board there with Richard Sherry, he'll take the more conservative approach and keep it in gear 3. Now as he billows down toward the Jackie Stewart grandstands, I don't think there's going to be any difference in his method. Gets down to gear 2 here. And maybe to make sure the car is a little less squirrely when it puts down the power, it's better to go to third gear on the way through the bus stop. 8 laps remaining. Exciting to see that slow but sure development. The 29 car of Cherry, who has blossomed through this summer series, is really showing signs that if he can continue this as the main tour gets to action, he might just be a contender for at least a race win next season. We don't quite know what to expect, because Jamie McKinney, Richard Sherry have really blossomed. Cameron Chandler has continued to show those signs of great development. Oh my goodness, Cameron Chandler is a man on a mission. He has cut down 15 seconds on Hudson Sangster, so maybe finishing in 4th is still a possibility. Unbelievable stuff so far for Cameron. And it looks like Hudson Sangster is about 3 seconds off the pace per lap. And Cameron is putting down some of his fastest laps overall. After going down to pit road at lap number 25, he has been red hot. And with the exception of the incident he had, he has only put 1 lap slower than a minute 11 seconds. And he was only slower than that margin by 28 one-thousandths of a second. Unbelievable stuff so far for the number 9. And Chandler, horrible that for he and McKinney, they weren't able to battle it out fully. But for now, the only goal is going to be getting back up to Sangster and finishing the job with one more spot. 6 laps to go, and it'll be coming to 5 next time by for Jamie McKinney as he looks toward his maiden victory. Hudson Sangster further back. Henry Kallhoff now within 3 seconds of Richard Cherry. Sangster is damaged, and that really hasn't helped him out here. And so I think for Cameron Chandler, it's going to be pretty easy once he gets by. But Henry Kallhoff is showing signs that with less than 5 laps remaining, as they come toward the line this time by, he might have a chance to take the championship lead full on and get ahead of Richard Cherry. A reminder that every driver in this series, of course, all fighting for the title, only 3 will be mathematically eligible for next week. And they're running close to position order. If Cameron Chandler gets by Hudson Sangster, your top 3 in points will be found from 2nd to 4th consecutively. And they're only separate by 1 point. All of them separate by a single point, so every position counts. With Richard Cherry having the advantage over Kallhoff, he has the championship lead. Sangster gets back in line. Cameron Chandler gets himself up into 4th. Richard Cherry, 1.7 seconds. That's how far back Henry Kallhoff is on him, and he's cut the gap from what was over 4 seconds now. It's less than half. Take a look aboard. A tight entry for Kallhoff into the S's that cost him about a 1/4 second. But better safe than sorry at this point in this race. There's 4 laps to go. He'd have to cut another half second each and every time by for a real opportunity to get up there on Richard Cherry. Not impossible, but the odds are stacked against him. So I really don't know what we're going to expect here in these final laps. Cherry in the Toyota Camry, if he gets out of this race in 2nd, it's going to be a big time boost of confidence and opportunity. Because unlike anything we've seen beforehand, very, very close to what could be a first victory and a first championship. Richard maybe not getting the victory today, but he could get a championship even without a win next week at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Within 5 points, it's going to be between your top 3 drivers the way things are looking. 3 laps to go. Kallhoff pushes to the outside and gets back to business. But it looks like right now he's no longer gaining, and since the gap is over 2.5 seconds again, it would need a Cherry mistake for Kallhoff to take P2. So Richard Cherry comfortable so long as he doesn't fall into his own trap and make an unforced error. That is the biggest enemy of the number 5 crew, a problem that he causes for himself. 3 laps to go this time by. And we're coming toward 2. The penultimate lap is here for Jamie McKinney as he looks to take his first ever win. He'll only have to go the better part of 5 miles from here to make it so. Two laps to go. Next flag makes it official. Richard Cherry remains 4 seconds behind Jamie McKinney after throwing down a 1:11.7 lap. That was about 1.2 seconds quicker than Henry Kallhoff. Cameron Chandler has pulled 10 seconds on Hudson Sangster, and while not being able to pull anything back position-wise on Henry Kallhoff, he's just outside the podium after a horrible incident, which was, of course, game over for the win. But a major shout-out to this team, the number 9 crew of Cameron Chandler, putting it back on and looking for every point possible for a final opportunity to go out there and maybe, just maybe, get himself a top 3. Tonight, he will not be able to get there, but the promised land could be next week. Jamie McKinney coming toward the final time to start-finish line before the checkered flag. White is out this time by. White flag, 1 lap to go. It is Jamie McKinney who's got it in hand. 4 seconds. The advantage, and for McKinney, it is firm. A first career victory is an opportunity like none other. And last week, after leading over 100 laps, I'm sure McKinney would have just liked to have taken that win and be done with it. But it looks like tonight, he'll get that big redemption. One lap to go, less than that now, and while McKinney is no longer championship eligible, he's looking to chase the checkered. And that's exactly what he's done today, leading what will be a total of 19 laps on the day when he crosses the checkered flag. Nobody had the pace, and even through the wild errors of the 0-1 crew, he pulled it back with strategy and is now, for the very first time in his Saturday Night Thunder career, able to say that he is a race winner. Jamie McKinney, welcome to Watkins Glen Victory Lane. The first-time winner collects the checkers. Richard Cherry makes it to second and takes the championship lead with 1 week to go in the title battle. Kallhoff will pull for third, and Cameron Chandler, against all odds, will be able to make it for fourth, despite the contact, battling for the lead. What a race. The championship battle, it came in as a 1-point spread, and Cherry, who was third in points, comes in as, of course, the underdog. Now he's your points leader. And McKinney is burning it down through turn 1. Jamie McKinney breaks away, collecting the race victory for the first time this season, and it was tight, involving you and Cameron Chandler, of course. And now, as we get back to business once again, 1 race to go in the season, and you've got yourself that maiden victory before the title finale.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me race in here, and I'd like to say thank you to TCMC. I can't say nothing but thank you to my teammates I raced with, and I had a great battle with Cameron Chandler. It's unfortunate that we made contact. and I'm still sorry to him about it. But clearing that up, I just made too many mistakes during the race, just too many rookie mistakes. It was kind of embarrassing, but at least I had the speed to come back to Chandler on the green, and then I was just waiting for him to make a mistake, and he did. And when he did, I just went for the opportunity, and yeah, that's how we got it.
And you talk about that first half stint. You got yourself the race lead, went through the grass, out of the bus stop, and this 01 car was loose all throughout the race. We saw you drifting through corners, and I think that was one of the big things that cost you time, especially on the first stint. So how'd you work yourself back together to avoid those errors later in the going?
Well, I guess just try to focus, get some more sleep, because I live all over. No, how do I say this? Sorry. I live in Sweden, so my time currently right now is 3 a.m. So I wasn't exactly 100%. So yeah, of course, I'm going to make a lot of mistakes, but I just love racing these stock cars, and it was really fun.
And of course, the battle for the race win coming down between you and Cameron Chandler, and side by side, just contact time and again. Looks like both cars locked together up the S's. You think there's anything you could have done about it?
I'm not sure, because when I was behind him, the dirty air was really bad. I couldn't get the car turned, so I saw him messing up on the final corner, so I waited for the opportunity to get side by side, and we did. We were side by side for like 3 corners, and then out of the S's, my car got really loose, and I tried to save it without touching him, but unfortunately we did. So I'm really sorry to Cameron. He's a great guy to race with, a lot of respect for him. But I just felt slightly faster on pace, and I was just being patient with it, but the dirty air kind of just ruined my impatience. So yeah, we had to do it.
Jamie McKinney, first-time SNT race winner with 1 week left in our summer series. You think now you're going to go try back-to-back at Homestead? What's the game plan for this final race?
Oh, well, try to run my race and not run into any people like I did last time with my teammates. So we'll work on it and try to see if we can get another win or a top 5.
Checkered flag is yours tonight, the Sinclair Oil Toyota Camry. Jamie, any final comments you'd like to leave us with? We'd love to hear it.
I'd like to say thank you for everything, TCMC. Thank you for letting me drive for your team, dude. It's awesome.
Jamie McKinney, race winner from Watkins Glen. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
With McKinney on the way, we're going to hear next from Richard Cherry. Richard able to take second place by avoiding the chaos later in the going, and as such, he finds himself now as championship leader coming toward our series finale. You were 1 point behind in third, and now it looks like it's time to get back to business. You have the title advantage coming toward Homestead.
Yeah, I mean, really cool. Just frustrated because I have literally done road courses like all my life. I used to do like F1 leagues and stuff, and the fact I still don't feel like comfortable. Or I'm gonna be decent, of course. I have run this kind of racetracks my whole life, so obviously I have to be on pace. But it's still kind of frustrating, But cool to have the points lead coming to my home track, Homestead. Really is gonna be really cool going to go to a racetrack that I have literally visited multiple times in real life.
And Watkins Glen, one of those road racing circuits, so with that road course experience, it looks like it worked out in your favor, but the stock cars are so different with how they drive. Was there any specific way you had to adapt? Were there any big differences that caught you off guard?
Not off guard, because I have done races before, but it's like painting with a spoon, literally. The way the car brakes with the wheel hopping, the way you have to manage the throttle and all that. The biggest difference is undoubtedly the S's with the GT3, or even GT3. You can do it flat out. With this car, you have to lift and even brake. So it's kind of entertaining, but kind of fun also to watch.
And now, even though, of course, you might not have a victory just yet, this is the most important part of the season, and you find yourself with the advantage heading toward Championship Week, Homestead, Miami. Ahead of Kallhoff and Chandler in the standings, what is the game plan now to potentially secure this Summer Series title?
I will have to be more aggressive. I mean, consistency is not going to matter at that point during the race. So, we'll have to try to win the race to lock up the title, because Cameron and Henry are are some of the fastest people on the racetrack in this championship. So, we'll try to maybe try to get the home win.
One more opportunity, one more victory could be on the line. Of course, Richard Cherry second today, and you've got the top spot in the title. Any final comments or shout-outs you'd like to send? We'd love to hear it.
I'm gonna do it in Spanish just like last week. Un saludo para el grupo de los Reales, aunque me han echado como, no sé, 3 veces en las últimas 48 horas. No sé qué coño, cuántas veces me habrá echado, pero bueno. Un saludo para todos ellos, se os quiere, y también otro saludo más para la CFI, que otra vez los he tenido en el coche esta noche, liderando el campeonato para la última carrera de Homestead, así que esperemos poder ganar el título para la CFI y también para el grupo que he mencionado antes.
Richard Cherry, top of the board with a second place performance, holding out well here from the Glen. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, man.
Cherry on the way. One final we'd like to talk to. That's the number 63 of Henry Kallhoff. So, looks like he's with us right now today, getting up to the podium, avoiding some trouble just ahead of him. And the 63 car takes P3. It is lockstep for the championship battle. You came in 1 point ahead. You're going to be just behind as we head toward Homestead this time around.
Yeah, I mean that was a really good race for all of us for sure, and in the early part of the race, all of us were together. It was the top 5 between me, Cameron, Richard, and Jamie Hudson. We were all kind of under a blanket there for the first half, and I was trying to make some moves, and I guess they got more experience or something like that, because I don't know what happened, but around lap 15, the car just got incredibly tight and lost a lot of forward bite there, and I'm not really sure what happened there with Hudson, and then Cameron also wrecked too. I'll have to take a look back on that, but I was super grateful to finish third. It was a really needed result, and I'm probably one of the worst road course drivers for sure, but it was a good run for us, much needed, and keeps us in the fight for the championship for next week. And I got to do the points later, but I gotta say it'll be very close.
It's going to be as tight as it comes. Now, when we talk a little bit more about today, first half of the race, we had 5 cars in a bundle. Strategy is what set you guys apart. It looked like later in the going, you had something for Richard Cherry, but couldn't finish the charge. Tires. We didn't see a lot of pace drop off, but did you feel those warming up as the race went on?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, in the first couple laps after we got the tires on, I mean, the car would slide a lot because we were on the colder tires, so they weren't up to the heat. And once we got a couple laps, and then the tires really tapped it well. And honestly, we didn't have a lot of tire fall off, and that kind of surprised me. But I guess it's just one thing about the ARCA cars. I'm sure iRacing will get to work on that. It's kind of like the old next gens where you didn't really have a lot of tire wear; you just kind of lost grip as the run went on. So. That was interesting. I mean, it was my first ARCA race on a road course, so definitely a learning curve. I was expecting it to be a lot like the trucks, because they're both lower in horsepower but higher in downforce, I would say. So definitely a learning curve. Something I'll take into consideration for next time we do a road course for the ARCA cars, whenever that is. But either way, a great day. And with a few laps to go, I was gaining on Richard, and I was gaining by half a second, and with 3 to go, I believe I'm like, man, if I can just, execute all these corners right, if I can just get to him, I think I can get second. Then with 3 to go, a downshift in the second and the first, and then the rear's just, it just wheel hopped there and lost a bunch of times. I was, pretty pissed off for that. But, either way, just the way racing is, just kind of pushing a little too hard, trying to make the most of it. But either way, still got third, which is pretty good. And, would like to, would have liked to maximize the point situation, but it'll be exciting for sure. I'm sure all the viewers are going to be really excited to see a championship battle because every point is going to matter, and that's been the case this whole season. So we'll see what happens next week.
And we're back at the 1.5 mile ovals, and the last time we were there, you took victory in Kansas, which was an exciting race, and it was tough. You had Cameron Chandler all over you at the end of it, but you were the one who came out on top. You're going to take those lessons learned, and maybe that's the difference maker next week?
Well, we'll see what happens. I like Homestead. It's a very unique track. It's kind of like Kansas, where you can make both lines work in a sense. There's a lot of consequences when you run the top for the first half and burn off your rears. But I think it'll be definitely fun. I'm not sure what Cameron and Richard have up their sleeve, but I'm sure they'll give me a run for my money. But we'll see what happens. It's gonna be super exciting. I'm gonna just lay it on the line. Whatever happens, happens. But either way, it's been a good season. Whatever happens next weekend.
One more chance and a podium finish to keep things close and consistent for the Kallhoff-Deitch Racing crew and the number 63, Henry Kallhoff. One more chance now, and we're looking forward to the most important race of this summer series. Anything else you'd like to leave us with?
Well, first and foremost, I'd love to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Also to my family and friends for supporting me along the way. And, it's been awesome hosting the series. I've been kind of thinking of ideas as to what I want to do beyond the summer series. Of course, Vinny and Carter, I also got to thank them for giving me the opportunity to host the summer series. And we got a lot of cool things to come up for this upcoming season of S&T. It should be a really good one for sure.
Eyeing a championship before we head back to our regular campaign, Henry Kallhoff, 3rd place tonight. Thank you for your time.
Yep, thank you.
And so now we've gotten a word from our entire podium picture. Henry Kallhoff taking it 3rd place. Richard Cherry assumes the championship lead in P2, and it's going to be the winning man, Jamie McKinney, the 0-1, with a maiden victory. How about that for McKinney? It was a tight race, and unfortunately it became that contact at the very end. Now, that was the biggest shame of all for he and Cameron Chandler, but they'll be able to settle it on the racetrack with our championship finale next week. Stay tuned live on FTN Broadcasting as we bring you the best of the best, the Kallhoff-Deitch Racing Summer Series ending at Homestead, same time, same place, Saturday night at 7:45 p.m. Eastern. Until then, you've been watching coverage from the virtual Watkins Glen International from Saturday Night Thunder and Kallhoff-Deitch Racing. I've been your host, David Kreutz, commentating and producing. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Our next broadcast will be Monday with the Integrity Ignite series as they return to regular season racing. Congratulations to Jamie McKinney on the victory. We hope you have a fantastic night.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Boundless makes its presence felt. It will not be ignored. We're helping turn ideas into reality with a wealth of building products that take every architectural style to the next level. This is what it's like to imagine, build, and transform anything we want into exactly what we seek. This is what it means to be boundless.
Welcome to the Underdog Racing Podcast, where we talk to NASCAR drivers from all over the great country of America. Each week, we chat about the latest races, share stories from the track, and get to know the drivers behind the wheel. We break down the action, hear from drivers about their experiences, and dive into what drives them to keep racing. Whether you're a longtime NASCAR fan or just curious about the sport, this is the place for you. So tune in to the Underdog Racing Podcast, your inside look at the world of NASCAR. Catch us every Wednesday at 6:30 Eastern.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.